better. Yeah, definitely. I think people don't realize the value of civil engineering features until they're kind of gone. Until someone takes this intersection, replaces it with a roundabout, and then everyone's up in arms about it, or takes this beautiful bridge and better visual. Um,
Hey, folks, welcome to another edition of the 21st Century Engineer. This podcast is being brought to you with the hope that the conversation we have today, and in all of our conversations, we provide an opportunity for professional growth, maybe a little bit of personal goal setting. And as a result, we have a really outstanding individual visiting with us today. Um, the Autumn's with us today. She is one of the 2025 professional new faces of civil engineering as defined by ASCE. And that means that this young lady has already accomplished an awful lot in her very young life and is on a pathway to great success. So, with that said, Autumn, thanks for being with us. And you want to kind of introduce yourself to the individuals that are tuned in today and share anything that you'd like to about who you are, what you're about to, and what you're up to.
Gotcha. Yeah, thank you for having me. So my name's Autumn Buesking. I got my degree in civil engineering from Missouri University of Science and Technology. So I'm originally from the St. Louis area, grew up there. And then I had the opportunity my senior year to intern with IMEG up in the Quad Cities as a structural engineering intern. And that was a great opportunity. And from there, I got offered a full-time position. So I'm currently a structural engineer in training. And I've been here for about 3 years with IMEG, working on a variety of projects, all types of
Super.
materials, all types of
That
structures. So
structural mindset, that structural interest, as I understand it, started with you early, and that there's some aspect of the Washington Bridge that inspired you to think about what role you might have played in the construction of the old Washington Bridge, or possibly the replacement of a bridge, assuming some days it has to be replaced. Uh, what was the significance of this bridge in your life? And by the way, let me start off by saying I started off as a structural engineer and then found out I liked water a whole lot better. I like stuff that flows under bridges, but nevertheless,
yeah,
what's it about the old Washington Bridge that
hey,
you
yeah,
know inspired you, impacted you?
yeah. So I grew up in Washington, Missouri, and we have this beautiful bridge that would cross the river and really bridge the gap in our community, for lack of better terms. And I just remember as early as like kindergarten, first grade. I mean, the bridge was in needed a lot of repair. It was old. It was very small bridge. There's a lot of traffic on it, and I remember, I mean, fundraising for it as early as a kindergarten, doing penny wars where every class brought in pennies, and the class that had the most got a donut party, and you'd only raise a few $100, but across all the schools doing it, we were starting to raise money for that bridge because it was going to be a multi-million-dollar project. Um, and that was really early on, and it just was a very core memory for me. And then even growing up, I remember in my early science classes doing contests to redesign the bridge and making bridges out of spaghetti and hot glue. And we would add as much weight to them and compete to see who had the strongest bridge design. And so every year there was something going on with the bridge. It was something about the bridge, and it was really important for me growing up. And it was a really a big part of our community because my town was a little unique, where half the town lived on the other side of the river. So in 2017, my senior year of high school, we had a really bad flood, and all the roads up to the bridge closed down, and Missouri was in a state of emergency because no one could get across the bridge. And it really got me thinking, because the hospital is right on one side of the bridge. If people were in an emergency and needed to cross, they couldn't. The closest next bridge is like 30, 45 minutes away. So it was really just a facet of everyday life for me. I had friends, I had to drive across it to go see my friends. And it was just always there. And it really kind of kickstarted my idea of engineering and just like problem solving, and what is the problem? How do we fix it?
The
How can we make this bridge
I'm not
better? How can
personally
we help the
familiar with this
community?
bridge. I know I've driven over a lot of bridges in my life and, and been involved with a lot of, even advocated for a lot. Um, is it a steel bridge? Is it a stone bridge? Is it a concrete reinforced ash toe beam bridge? Is it trestle? What's the structural design for the bridge? Okay.
Yeah, it's a steel truss bridge. So it used to be actually they finally replaced it a few years ago. So um it was really beautiful. A lot of steel and
Mhm.
right on the river with the sunsets and the silhouette of it. It just was very much a landmark too. It was really beautiful in the sky. And they replaced it a few years ago and placed it more. It's just like a concrete bridge that didn't have much architecture to it, much look to it, which kind of caused some angst in the community, but it really needed to get replaced. So I think people were just happy it got replaced, but they
Yeah.
were really sad that we
Okay.
lost like a
It
landmark
reminds
for a
me from
town.
what you're describing. There's a lift bridge on the northern peninsula of Michigan, uh, or the upper peninsula, I should say, the UP, as the locals refer to it, Loudon area, and which turns out to be up where Michigan Tech is. And I had the opportunity to go to its dedication as an ASCE landmark. It is a lift bridge, and which makes it kind of unique in and of itself. But it is exactly what you described. The hospital's on one side, the community's on another. There was an event where actually a child lost his life, as a result of a problem with the bridge, and so they have community events, races, parades, all in commemoration of this event. And it points out, I think, the importance of civil infrastructure in what most people take for granted. Um, it's not just a matter of a bridge where people drive across it, but it's a lifeline. It's a communication structure. It's a way that connects communities rather than divides it. Is that what is that how you were seeing this?
Yeah, definitely. I think people don't realize the value of civil engineering features until they're kind of gone. Until someone takes this intersection, replaces it with a roundabout, and then everyone's up in arms about it, or takes this beautiful bridge and when I
I was
come, everyone
driving
hates.
around. I was driving around roundabouts in 2013 in Zambia, just one right after another. I
Yeah,
mean, they couldn't afford to power electrical control devices,
yeah,
stoplights. If some people, as the non-educated would say, traffic lights, as we engineers would typically say, are control devices.
yeah.
So they just put in roundabouts. It's like every block. So it's and by the way, in Zambia, being a former British colony, everything drives the other way.
Oh
Steering
wow.
wheel's on the right. You go around the roundabout on the left. Um, yeah, yeah, it's. I laugh at people that don't know how to get around those things, but it does. It's part of what it is. Now the bridge got replaced. I understand it at some point.
Yeah, it got replaced when I was in college. So um, had to be like 2018-ish, 2017, 2018 when they were doing
Mhm.
construction. And I actually remember, so they blew up the old bridge and they were raffling off tickets to, enter the lottery. And they drew one name and that person got to hit the detonate button on the old bridge. And it was like live stream everywhere. I remember being in class and watching the live stream with some friends of it getting blown up and everyone was so excited to watch it, but sad to see it go. So,
Super. That's great. So now you've got a whole new generation of bridge that hopefully will last another 100 years.
oh yeah.
That will continue to service, if not probably resolve some of the restrictions of an older structure that wasn't designed for the way we travel today or the communication needs that we have today as far as, and I say communication in the sense of moving from point A to point B. Communication is a transportation thing. It just happens to be, most people think communication is transportation of words, but
Yeah.
transportation is in fact a communication mechanism. So for those of you that don't understand what I'm saying, that's what I'm trying to explain when I say communication. Let's slide over into another conversation related to this. Obviously, it instilled or inspired you to pursue a career that was related to civil infrastructure, which got distilled down to, in a more conventional way, to become a civil engineering student. Could you kind of thumbnail what that journey was for you from, say, high school to graduation?
Yeah, so I actually started off college as a physics major. I just
Oh,
loved my physics class. So I was like, well, I like that. I'll just do physics. So when I got into college, I took physics one, physics two, loved it. But as we got more into it, it's a lot of chemistry, a lot of computers, and that wasn't really my cup of tea. I liked, like we said, the bridges, the statics, kinematics, those things. So when I was talking to my advisor, to my friends, I was like, well, what can I do that's similar? And I went to a STEM school, so like everything was STEM related, and I knew I wanted to be in that field. And that's when I really started learning about civil engineering more and structural engineering. You drive the roads, you drive the bridge, you see the buildings, but you don't really know what all goes into that. And so I started to learn from there and get on that engineering track. So from there, I was a civil engineering major as of like sophomore year. So
okay.
took a bunch of those classes. Really liked my structures class. I actually also got involved in our explosives engineering program. So I
Whoa,
was
whoa, 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 whoa. Explosive engineering program?
yes. So
Is
my
that like in as in dynamite explosive, or just a really dynamic engineering program?
as in dynamite, yeah. Um,
Ugh.
so my school is a mining school. Our mascot's actually the miners.
Yeah,
We had a whole mining
I know.
department and explosives department. So
Yeah,
yeah. So I
I
got involved in those classes, and those were just, I mean, they were for fun, but I also, I mean, took demolition classes and learned a lot about structures that way too, of how to safely, take them down, uh,
how to blow up bridges.
how to blow up bridges. Yeah, exactly. And
She's a terrorist, folks.
it was really fun class, and I really enjoyed those, and it definitely helped branch some of the experience based classes versus some of like the lecture hall classes.
Yeah.
Um, so yeah, so I pretty much stuck with civil engineering once I found it. And then, like I said, I ended up doing the explosives engineering, got my minor in that. I
Oh,
interned for IMEG for a summer as a structural engineer. I was actually supposed to intern as a mining engineer the summer before, but COVID happened. So all my internships got canceled, and every opportunity I could find was canceled.
oh yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
So I,
Lucky for civil engineering.
yeah.
We
So
could have lost you to the mining people.
you could have. I was gonna, figure out which one I liked best, but really kind of forced my hand. But I'm glad. I absolutely loved it. I loved the job. I loved the people. I love getting to do engineering, but also getting to talk to people as like a consultant and having an impact in the community. So I really found my niche and was offered a full time job, and immediately took it because interviews are rough. So I was like, I like it. Let's go with it.
Yeah, yeah, I understand. By the way, I know you don't know, though my intro for ASCE talks about my somewhat checkered past. I started as an architectural engineer, and actually I was interested in being an architect, but I switched to architectural engineering because, as I've told many people back when I was in high school, I was afraid I'd run out of all the creative juices by the time I got to age of 35 and use engineering as a fallback position.
I mean,
So yeah, yeah. Well, anyway, it's what you know when you're in high school, and given where I went to school, it's lucky I knew anything. But the university I picked, because of its architectural engineering program, informed me 4 days after we arrived on campus and before classes had started that they had eliminated the architectural engineering program. So I spent my whole first year sitting there going, "Why am I here? What am I? I don't like this. I didn't have any passion about it. It just wasn't feeding me." And I got into my sophomore year having declared my major as civil, thinking I was going to be structures, and just really floundered that second year, excuse me, really, um, until I found what I really liked, which was my aptitude and interest for water and environment and all the rest of it. And that really turned a corner for me. And I think that's important,
yeah.
finding that interest, finding that motivation. And as a footnote, I too took a mining class.
Yay.
Uh, yeah, the program was diverse. I took a ceramics class,
Oh,
and
fun.
that is not a pottery class.
Yep.
I took a class on the chemistry of making ceramics, which I used in environmental engineering almost not at all. And, and I took my mining class. And I even took a class on welding, but that's the way education was back in the dark ages when I was coming through. So yeah, I can weld and cast aluminum and other stuff, but that's irrelevant. This is conversation more about you, but it is that dynamic shift, finding your passion, finding your interest, finding your aptitude in a way that really feeds your spirit, leads you to a career, a professional career, rather than just a job. So that's great. The transition. Well, let me. There was one other question. You mentioned internship.
Yeah.
Um, how important do you think the internship was in class success and the solidifying what you wanted to do as far as getting out of school? Because college is only 4, 5, for some people 6 years, but
Yeah.
yeah, it's a short period of time. And the idea is developing the skill sets for a career that you after school. How important was the internship to you in solidifying your vision of what you wanted to be with what you wanted to do with your life?
Yeah, I mean, I think any internship, co-op, hands-on experience are just so valuable. Like I mentioned, my first internship was supposed to be in Texas for a mining company, and it was canceled because of COVID. And I was really worried because that meant I only had one summer, one internship. And I was like, if I picked a field that I didn't like, then when I graduated, I was going to go to a different field, kind of blind. So it was really nice, just like 3 months, getting to experience, the best part of the job, the worst part of the job, just getting to learn everything, what people do. And then it was also really helpful going back to those classes, and you learn this equation. You're like, oh, I remember that in this,
Yeah,
example problem that my mentor worked through with me. I remember that. It's like putting those practices into use. And I think growing up, especially for people who don't like math as much as maybe I do, you're in math class and always like, well, when am I going to use this in the real world? Why do I need to know this?
right.
And so really it really bridged that gap, and I like learned why certain things were important and made me want to pay attention more. And it just made me understand, what my future was going to be on a day to day. So I was really
Yeah,
grateful for that opportunity, and definitely recommend it for anybody who can do it.
yeah. That lack of visual relevance for calculus one is always a killer. And, but yeah, I went to a university that really advocated for co-op, and I had the fortune of actually getting about 2.5 years of experience co-oping by manipulating the periods, the quarters we were on, where we could build. When I was there, vacation times, holidays. I mean, they wanted me to work all the time, and which was fine because I wanted to work all the time. It was a lot of fun. But for me, just exactly what you said, that experience helped solidify what it was I wanted to do. I happened to be working on a wastewater treatment plant, hired as a construction engineer to do construction management and on a wastewater plant. And it really did help solidify me. But the one I remember most vividly is standing there in my senior design project, having made the presentation on how we were expanding or increasing the retention behind a concrete dam. And the instructor looked at me and said, "What are you going to do if there's no steel in that dam?" Because it wasn't very high at the time. It was about a 12-foot concrete monolith with a fairly narrow width and a lot of earth. And I had enough experience from my co-op experience that I turned right back around and outlined a solution for him that he loved to death. Made an A in the class and passed. Graduated. What do you know? Got a degree. Anyway, that kind of uh, real life experience that in college internships and co-op really provide is something I think a lot of people are missing out on today. A lot of people don't intern. A lot of people don't co-op. And I think it's a sad thing that that's the case. But anyway, it is what it is. I know that you've been quite successful in what you've done now that you've made the transition into your professional career. Are there any particular projects that stand out that you'd like to share? Explain some of the stuff that you've been doing, the kind of community social impact you can have, are having, have had because of your background?
Yeah, and like I really love the projects that do impact the community. Like I said, growing up with the bridge, I mean that project was so impactful for me all my early life. So getting to
Right.
be that person for someone else is really great. So I worked on one recently that was a new pool locker room, skating rink, like aquatic center, basically for the city of Bettendorf, Iowa. So that was a lot of fun, and it was a very challenging project. It was pretty early on. It was steel and wood construction.
I'm sorry, I'm going to interrupt you. An ice rink and a pool?
Yeah, so it was there's like a pool complex, and there was an aquatic engineer who did the pool, um,
Okay.
and then there was 4 buildings on the park, and there was like an ice rink, all outdoor like park facility for the city.
Wow.
Yeah,
That's pretty complex.
yeah, and there was a lot of different disciplines involved because obviously, I mean, you have to have aquatics engineering. I mean, mechanical, doing stuff for like the ice rink and the big chillers and all that. So it was a lot of it was one of my first like big projects, and obviously I had help on it too. But I just remember, I mean, there was a lot of different coordination and communication going into it. It was a very challenging project. Construction took a little bit longer than expected, but
Yeah.
turned out, yeah, oh, it always happens. It turned out so well, and actually, the pool just opened up, and my friends and I have been going to it. We go to there's a lazy river, so we go to the water aerobics class in the lazy river, and just getting to see, I mean, how many people like it benefits. When we went there was a 45-minute wait to get in. And I was like, this was just something that like a few years ago was on paper, and I was a little new engineer trying to figure out what to do, and now it's benefiting an entire community. So that was really good to see.
Well, and I don't know, is the ice rink open year round, or is it only a winter event?
Only a
Winter
winter event.
facility.
So
Yeah.
they did that this winter just for a few weeks, and they did a big Christmas tree lighting ceremony. There's a Christmas tree in the center of the ice rink, and that was really cool. I haven't been to the ice rink yet, but I have been to the pool, so that was.
Do you skate?
I do. I've ice skated a few times before. When I was younger, I broke my arm skating, so I'm a little
Sure.
traumatized, but I'm excited to try it
I
out.
broke my backside once skating, but I only in my pride, not in a structural sense.
Yeah, no, I broke my arm, and I was third grade, but it's pretty fun because I got to wear a pink cast, and everyone got to sign my cast, so it worked out.
See, that's a positive attitude. I broke my arm, but I got to wear a pink cast. Life was great. I worry about you. Anyway, but it is, particularly with all that's going on, this idea of providing facilities that accommodate and recreate within a community impacts quality of life. It really is a positive, and to think that you were part of that, to see that come to fruition, and in a positive way for the citizenry, that's commendable. That's great.
Yeah,
Anything else? You mentioned an elementary school. Do
yeah.
civil engineers do? I thought that was an architectural engineering project.
I've done
Good.
a handful of different elementary schools, high school, middle schools. So we've done a lot of a different one of those. So we did a gym edition for a few different schools. I've done some storm shelters, tornado shelters, big in my area. So again, just seeing those. One fun one I did was a welding lab edition for a high school, and it was actually pretty cool because they let they built the structure, but then there were some architectural elements, welding booths that they're actually letting the students, like the construction team, help the students construct themselves. So they got to weld on the actual building and the project that got put up. So that was really cool to see them get that, hands-on learning experience that we were mentioning before. Um,
Did somebody mark the sections that the students welded so people would never sit there?
yeah, no, it was all monitored and supervised, but yeah.
Okay. So you involved the individuals, or the project involved the individuals in the construction of the facility during construction, not just after the construction. That's innovative.
Yeah.
That's quite creative. It also provides insights into what's involved in the what we call the AEC arena, the architectural engineering construction arena, that does all this kind of work. That's great. Now, did I understand you correctly to say that it also provided what I'm going to call a storm shelter environment as well?
Yeah, so I've done a few storm shelters. So the welding project was separate from some of the storm shelter
Yeah,
projects I've done, but that's been a big.
that's because of the student involvement.
Yeah, we
Sorry,
don't maybe
go on.
not let them up with that one, but
Yeah.
we've done a lot of those recently. We've seen a big uptick in them. which is great. I mean, I'm in Illinois and Iowa, so we do get a lot of
Yeah.
tornadoes and wind events. So they're definitely
Yeah.
needed, and I think it was a recent addition to the code now that they're required, especially for some of those elementary school, high schools with a certain size population. So we've been doing a lot of those, and I enjoy them because it's something different, and it's a lot more load than you're used to seeing. Um, just unique features, and they're fun to try to
Yeah,
implement.
and that's great because what you're doing is you're in one building, one project, one system. You're addressing multiple problems,
Yeah.
and it is a problem. The idea we had it was a high school uh, athletic complex destroyed several years ago as a result of a very large tornado that went through. And when the community built it back, they built it back just exactly as you're describing,
Yeah.
not just a athletic facility, a gym and lockers and other aspects. Where they had some workout areas for the football team, but also weights and what have you. But also the idea that it was built back to resist a Cat 3 tornado coming through.
Yeah.
Now, of course, the next tornado will be probably a Cat 4, but it will,
That works.
as you know from the design, the difference between Cat 3 and Cat 4 and the wind load, you're not going to end up with catastrophic failure. You may end up with some damage,
Yeah.
but that structure is still going to withstand a Cat 4. Cat 3 would be pretty much unscathed, at least in terms of protection of health and safety, human life.
Yeah.
So that's congratulations. That's good. Well, with all this already in your tool bag or on your resume or in your field of expertise, what do you plan for the future? What are your career goals? What do you see yourself as a young person in the 21st century moving forward? What do you hope to do?
Oh, that's a really good question. I
Thank you. It's about time I got one in.
I just I'm kind of seeing where things take me. I like what I'm doing now. I like growing and learning about new projects, new things, new innovations. I'm an idea person, so I love just throwing everything at the wall and seeing what sticks. But I definitely don't want to like box myself in. I want to explore all the opportunities, and I've been moving up and learning different things in the role and project management and being able to coordinate buildings with other disciplines, learning more about mechanical, electrical engineering, and such. So I think those are the next big steps for me, just getting into that more management side of things. But in the future, I just want to keep growing and keep learning, and wherever that takes me, I'll be happy.
Excellent. That's great to hear.
Yeah.
Wanting to learn more, being willing to broaden your expertise as well as deepen it. Recognize that at the end of the day, as a civil engineer, you really are working in systems. And systems means that you're going to have to deal with electrical systems. You're going to have to deal with mechanical systems. You're going to have to deal with hydraulic systems. You're going to be dealing with not even mentioning, though I think I'm about to, all the diversity within the civil engineering arena, structures, hydraulics, transportation, geotech, and then the construction piece as well. So it's a diverse field as it is, but recognizing that prepares you for greater diversity and greater inclusion in your skill set. That's excellent. That should ensure, though I'm not your employer, that should ensure continued and perpetual success,
Yeah.
which I'm sure that's what you're about,
Yeah.
what you have for yourself from what you're saying, and that's good to know. That's congratulations. Seriously, congratulations. That's good. Um, Let me take you a little off of the this is who Autumn is and this is
Mhm.
who Autumn is about, and move you into a little different arena. You've been at this long enough that through your various involvements with business and with ASCE and with your peers and with your mentors, uh, you probably have begun to develop a vision of what you think civil infrastructure is going to be in the future. Not when I say future, I'm not thinking just 5 years out or 10 years out, but really, how you think it will evolve over your career, because after all, you're preparing for that career as you continue to learn. And so hopefully that preparation is successful based on that vision. Could you share what you think civil engineering is going to become over the next 20 years?
Yeah, I mean, I think we're really in a time of innovation and efficiency, I would say, are the big, key words. So I think taking those processes that, have maybe been around for, decades, years, such a long time, and really trying to find ways to perfect them. So I think just kind of continuing what we're doing, but making it efficient, making it more constructible, speeding things along, using artificial intelligence to aid our future, using new methods, and just continue developing those. I also think uh, trying to recycle things, reuse things with the environment. That's going to be a big play. So I think really just taking what we have already. We have such a solid foundation, such a solid base, and learning how to tweak it a bit, and maybe pushing back on the people who are like, well, this is how it's been for so long, and understanding that innovation is a good thing, and that taking what we have and making it better is going to affect everybody and make everyone better. So I really think that's kind of like the direction we're heading. I don't have super specifics on that, but I think that's kind of what my generation is trying to push towards.
Well, it's really difficult to get super specific on when you're talking about 20 years from now.
Yeah.
Hard enough to get super specific 5 years from now, but you've mentioned a lot of key issues. How AI is going to play into this profession, and the role it will play and the role it won't play are all things that are still being hammered out, and some of the limitations in terms of uh, ethics and bias and what an AI support system can or can't bring to the table. And a friend of ours, somebody who's been on another podcast of mine, talks about putting AI forward. That is making the part of the team not AI first, but AI forward, and emphasize the fact that this is a tool that we as engineers will have to use if we're going to address some of the problems that we haven't been addressed in the past millennia. So it's a real opportunity for us to look at new ways of doing things. So the way I frame it is, we're building in the 21st century systems that have to last for the 22nd century. So we don't want to be using 20th century technology to try and do that.
Yeah.
So that's good, and it's broad. It's all areas. It's not just structures. It's not just
Oh yeah.
environmental. It's all of us. It's the whole profession, and civil engineers are going to lead that. And with that said, then one last parting. Well, not really. I've got a couple more questions, but
Okay.
the last focus question I'd really like to throw your direction is, because of your experience coming from where you did elementary school and what have you, all the way up through college and now in your early stages of your career, any tips for young people that might be interested in pursuing a career in civil infrastructure?
Yeah, I get involved. Whatever that looks like for you, whether that's in elementary school joining the STEM club, or taking an extra science course if that's something you're interested in. When you're in college, join the programs, join ASCE, join everything you could possibly join, and don't limit your opportunities. Like, get out there, get that hand-on experience, get that learning experience, because having all those opportunities is really going to allow you to pick which one you like the best, and set you up for success in the long term, and set you up for happiness in the long term. So I think, yeah, just getting involved is really, really important early on.
The Any vision as to how one gets from calculus one through to a BS degree? Any advice on that?
Yeah, I think, I mean, as far as like school and education wise, like, I mean, learning what you're interested in, and it's okay to like other classes more than lesser classes, and that's why there's so many different classes to take. Finding study groups, studying with friends. I had a lot of friends who were aerospace engineers, so our classes, the first few years really looked the same, and then once we kind of branch off, and I really got into civil, and they really got into aerospace, I didn't have that support system as much as I used to. So I kind of struggled for a bit, and I just, picked that back up, and, made new friends in my classes. Talking to professors and teachers too, they love, I mean, professors, I mean, they love learning, and they love educating people. So going to office hours, just being friendly with them, really goes a long way. And it's okay to not understand a topic. I think that's something
Yeah.
engineers really struggle with, especially a lot of us were very gifted in school, smart in high school, and then you get to college and you're taking a lot more advanced classes, and people really shut down and get frustrated when they don't understand something like they used to. And just knowing that's okay. You're not going to be perfect on every single topic, and that's why that might not be your niche. Something else will. And so yeah, just asking questions, being involved.
Well, yeah, exactly. I mean, as an educator, well, as a person that stood in front of classes and lectured, how much education sometimes I wondered. But one of the things, we wanted students to come to us and ask questions. We wanted students to admit they didn't know.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, part of the reason you do homework is to learn from your failures, not your successes. You don't learn from successes. So the idea is, be willing. And somebody put it recently in social media. And again, I keep going back to my podcast. One of my earlier podcasts, somebody talked about it being the ego getting in the way. You come out of high school and you're a top performer because you're going to college, and you have to be a top performer because you're getting into an engineering program, and now all of a sudden you find yourself average,
Yep.
and that can be a bit daunting. And recognize that, and partner up, develop a peer study group, and talk through answers and see who's got solutions, and go to the instructor. And I'll go ahead and say it. I mean, as much as I strived not to be biased in awarding of grades and grading of papers and all of that, uh, at least when I put the grade on the paper and looked at the name, I could say, I know this person. I know they're trying. I know they're trying to make a difference in their education, and they're working hard to do it. Or I don't know who this person is. And so they apparently don't really care about the class or the subject or whatever. Now, did I change a grade? No, but it allowed me to develop an understanding of the individuals. And as long as we have that connection, as long as we have that relationship in the academic environment, I think it's going to be a win-win, particularly as we adapt. And for that matter, if you've gone to one of your civil engineering instructors and say, I'm thinking about being a mining engineer, what'd you say? Their answer would probably be, oh, no, of course not.
Yeah.
And saved you that whole heartache about losing the internship. Or maybe not. They
Yeah.
might have said, go forth and find out for yourself. But either way, yeah, excellent point. Excellent point. That
Yeah.
you're not in this alone. Just be willing to admit that you need help, and then help will be made available to you.
Yep. Agreed. I always say it's okay not to do your best as long as you're trying your best. You're putting in that effort, you're asking
Yeah.
questions, you're showing up, and that just it really goes a long way.
Well, it also goes back to what you're saying. It's trying to be better than you are today, tomorrow.
Correct.
I recognize that I don't know everything, and what I need to know for tomorrow will be different than what I knew yesterday. So I'm going to continue to learn. I'm going to continue to adapt. As Darwin says, adaptation of the survival of the adaptable.
Hmm.
Darwin never said survival of the fitness. It was always Darwin's advocacy that you learned those who could adapt are the ones who survived. And we need to be able to adapt as a profession and as individuals as well.
Yeah.
Super. Okay. Well, based on the clock that I've got running, we're pretty much out of time.
Okay.
As much as I hate that, I'd love, I mean, if we were sitting at an ASCE meeting at a bar after a conference session, having a drink, we could be having a conversation and nobody would run us out till they close the bar. But unfortunately, the bar is about to close. So I guess this is your opportunity. So far, I've kind of led the conversation. Let me kind of flip the script. Is there anything that you'd like to share about a key point that maybe we didn't cover, or a key point we did cover, but maybe not as fully as you'd like? Any final thoughts about uh, that you'd like to share with those individuals that are listening?
Yeah, I think kind of branching off from our previous conversation, we talked a lot about college, and then talking a lot about my profession now, but talking about that transition period is really important too. I think there's a sense of imposter syndrome. You're in school for years on years on years, and then you're suddenly thrown into the real world. And I think a lot of people struggle with that, and that's okay. So just want to reiterate that it's okay to struggle, as you transition out of college. It's okay to ask questions. It's okay to need help. Like we said, just do a little bit better every single day, and eventually, you're on a podcast talking to some great people, going to conferences, meeting all these people, and stuff starts to click. So
Yeah.
just keep on going.
Never give up.
Yep.
What was it? Galaxy Quest. Never give up. Never surrender.
There we go.
Yeah. So anyway, yeah, it's a bit of a sci-fi fan, though. I'm not sure that was a sci-fi flick, but it is what it is. Okay. Well, again, thank you. I know you're a busy person, and I really do personally appreciate you taking the time to meet with us today. Excuse me. A lot of great insights, a lot of great perspectives. Appreciate you sharing openly. To those of you that are watching, as always, I hope that the time you've invested with us today will turn dividends in your professional and personal development, that it will give you insights that will make you uh, more successful, however you define success. At the end of the day, that's why we do this. That's why we go to this trouble, and we hope you found it both educational and entertaining. So, with that, until the next time.
Thanks for listening to the latest episode of the Infrastructure Network.